Well, good afternoon to you all. Certainly a joy to be here with you all today, and I do stand to offer my thanks and appreciation to Pastor Shipp and Pastor Sadler, certainly Pastor Cox, our gracious hostess, Pastor Lee, our Sheriff Levitt, and others who are here. I stand before you today as a husband, as a father, as an uncle who has raised 3 African-American boys that are not my sons, but they're my nephews. Stand before you as a leader in the community. Stand before you as a chaplain to Sheriff Jeff Mann in the DeKalb County Sheriff's Office, and a chaplain to the former Sheriff Tom Brown. Stand before you as a member of this community. I live on Bonds Lake Road. Stand before you as an Afro-Hispanic survivor of American inner city life. Stand before you as one who has not just heard about the dealings and the goings on, but as many of you have lived. Stand before you today to close with in very brief comments to affirm the presence of these men and women of law enforcement and to say how much we thank and appreciate each and every one of you for putting it on the line for us every single day. We affirm you, we stand with you, we appreciate you, and we support you. We want to affirm also the people's right to protest against what are the perceived injustices and in what is, in my estimation, the very real injustice that has been perpetrated, even with the events of this week. I want to affirm the good that has taken place in our nation and the strides that have been made, the advancement of civil rights and the advancement of people of color and race relations. This meeting with the law enforcement and community officials and clergymen and women is an example of those advancements, and I want to affirm that. But I also want to point out the challenges of our time, and maybe in a biblical way, prophesy and speak truth to power. I want to talk about the inherent racial divide in our larger society between races in general. And I know a lot of y'all want to run around and talk about post-modernity, that we're in a post-racial society, but I ain't trying to be funny. When you see me coming, you see an Afro-Hispanic man. The sociological studies are done that when 2 large black men are walking down the street, 7 out of 10 white people will walk to the other side of the street to avoid the confrontation. We do not live in a post-racial society. People recognize race. God created us with different races, and we ought to celebrate the diversity that is among us and celebrate the potential for the unity that exists between the races. We have to deal with the races in general, the minority communities, the divide that exists between minority communities and law enforcement. I would be disingenuous if I was not to speak truth to power, because the reality of the matter is, dear friends, not only do we need to speak to law enforcement and the racial divide, but we have to speak to our sons and daughters. We've got to speak to the malevolent behavior of some of our children. We've got to speak to some of our own malevolent behavior. What does looting a liquor store have to do with Mike Brown getting killed? We have to speak to our congregations and tell them that there's something systemically and inherently wrong when you won't stand in line to fill up a church or stand in line to enroll for class, but you will stand in line this Friday to buy a new pair of sneakers or a flat screen TV. We have to speak to the malevolent nature of our own society and culture as minority people. We have to speak to the fact that only 48% of African American males in this state will graduate high school. We have to speak to the fact that only 42% of Hispanic males in this state will graduate high school. That will contribute to the economic disenfranchisement and cause them to be ushered into a life of crime. We have to speak to the fact that there is more fratricide in our community than homicide.